Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Well, as I always say, Erdogan, the president of Turkey, good or bad, he's got balls, and he's uh, trying to follow and fulfill his interests. His interests first, and when those interests are linked with his nation, that works perfectly. So, what happens here? Erdogan dares to say something. Uh, Exercise his free speech and tell us what he believes. And according to his religion, I'm guessing, culture, and preference, he is entitled to say whatever he wants. Correct? Correct. With being afraid of retaliations or not. Well, if you're afraid of retaliations, that means you will auto-censor. So censor yourself. Therefore, you're not going to be daring to exercise your free speech. So if I go outside and I say, well, I have free speech and I'm going to say what I think about this issue, but someone is going to use a sniper to hit me, then obviously other people seeing that will not do the same thing. They learn by example. Therefore, they will censor themselves and they will say, I'm not going to go outside and say the same thing that guy said, or something similar, because I'm afraid these guys might take care of me. Therefore, you self-censor. And that is not free speech. Well, this is what's attempted here. I'm not talking about this kind of elimination, but the elimination of trying to cancel you, destroy you financially, destroy you as a human being. How? You can find a job, they try to boycott you, and they try to fire you if you work somewhere. And I hope you do work for yourself. So let's see what article we have here regarding Erdogan. Reuters, October 7th, 2023. Turkey's Erdogan tells supporters that he does not recognize, quote-unquote, LGBT. Well, that's his right. That's his right to, based on whatever beliefs he has. As you have the right to support that and recognize it. And you should not try to eliminate the people who are against your recognition of certain kind of promotion or support to certain ideas. Ankara, Turkey's President Erdogan said on Saturday he did not, and I'm quoting, recognize LGBT and vowed to combat, and I'm quoting, perverse trends which he said aimed to destroy the institution of family in the country. That's his point. Well, he says, you know what, if we support that, this is going to be the outcome. And he has the right to say it. You like it or you don't like it. You don't like it, vote him out of the office. Correct? Correct. That's the democratic way. Turkey's government, led by Erdogan and his Islamic-rooted AK-47 party, has toughened its stance on LGBTQ freedoms in recent months, particularly while campaigning for this year's elections in May. The problem with the freedoms is this. Some people see certain kind of actions, as Erdogan said, perverted. And you can say, well, that's my right. But you can't expand certain rights. I'm not saying the LGBT should not, be allowed to express themselves. I'm for it. But with limits. Why do I say with limits? Because you have children. And then it depends how you express yourself. I'm against, for instance, against drag shows in front of the kids. My kids. Now, if the parent wants to expose his child to that kind of thing, that's within his rights. The problem is we have child protective services which probably should intervene if children are exposed to something that they might consider being wrong. Like, for instance, you can say, well, I'm the parent, I can expose my child, I'm exaggerating, to pornography. Correct? Correct. Well, some we have to determine, but nowadays that seems to be somehow in certain circles as being a-okay. Well, anyway, as an adult, I'm all for it. You expose yourself to whatever you want. I don't like when that gets imposed on me. Now, Erdogan, that's his opinion, that he's voted in the office, that's what his people want, and we'll see how he's gonna go about it. Remember, rights, you can't ask about the rights of a guy who likes certain kind of strata of the population, let's say minors. You know, they have rights in front of the law, but you can't equal their rights to do that kind of perversion as, let's say, a heterosexual relationship or incest or other bestiality and so on. Those things will not equate. I'm not trying to equate, obviously, LGBTQ with those things. I'm just trying to make a point that there are limits. There should be limits. And if some people agree with a certain kind of behavior and some people don't agree with that kind of behavior, those guys have the same right. The problem is if these take over, they impose their ideology. When the other guys take over, impose their ideology. And we'll see where that ends up. So, and I'm continuing to read. Homosexuality is not a crime in Turkey, but hostility to it is widespread. And police crackdowns on pride parades have become tougher over the years. Now, regarding pride parades, I have no problem with people doing that. The only thing is, why don't you see midget parades? Or, I don't know, big cocked parades, or, I don't know, heterosexual parades. Just that. Why don't you see blue-eyed people parades, and so on, brown shirt parade, like mine. You have only that kind of things. I mean, it's really, you can have it, but it's kind of like, fuck off, just leave me alone with this. It's kind of like bombarding you with that. And if you show less than enthusiastic attitude towards those things, then they will call you this and that. Well, just a second. From the tolerance that you ask for at the beginning to being imposed that's a big fucking stretch. Might anger a few people here and there, don't you think? Anyway, speaking at an AK, Speaking at an AK party congress in Ankara, Erdogan, who has frequently labeled members of the LGBTQ community as deviants, said neither his party nor their nationalist MHP allies recognize the LGBTQ community. Now, what is a deviant? Deviant is something that goes out from the normality or from the norm. Now, the norm, we know, however we like it or not, is based on majority. So that's how you form a general rules. You come up with general rules, you come with the norms, what the society really does. So we know that still heterosexuality is the norm. So something outside of the norm is called something that's outside of it. Now you can call it, and I'm going to go to the definition of, I'm not going to go because I don't know this beautiful. But anyway, that's a deviant, deviates from the norm. That's what it is. Now, if people give it a bad connotation and they say blah, 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 that's your interpretation. The same with pervert. Pervert, the same. If you go and look at the definition of what pervert means, comes from Latin. The same thing is out of normality. That's what pervert means. Outside of the norm. Now, a genius is a pervert. Why? Because he's outside of the norm. A genius is a deviant because it's outside of the norm. You see, you can use the term indiscriminately, to use that kind of little notion here, because it is. But some people gave bad connotation, like fat, all of a sudden the bad connotation. Well, if you don't like it, change your, how do you call it, status, or how should I put it, your condition. Otherwise, why, you want me to change my perception of you and my interpretation based with my values? I mean, after all, we know that being overweight comes with some increased health risks. That's not me saying it. So obviously it's not a good thing. It's a bad thing. So, and I have the right to my aesthetics as well. I might like this or I might not like that. I still have the personal preference. So yeah, I might like fat people or I might not like fat people. And also it depends on the context. I would like a fat person to be on my team if I go on the sled down the slope, but I don't want a fat person if I want to make some love, for instance. Well, am I discriminating here or not there? It depends on the use. Well, that means you don't have values, right? Yeah, okay. And I'm quoting Erdogan. We do not recognize LGBT. Whoever recognizes LGBT can go and march with them. Correct. Anything wrong with that? We are members of a structure that holds the institution of family solid. Correct. that strongly embraces the family's institution. Now they say, well, we're a family, but we can have families between this and that. Yeah, you can, but if you expand in that way, what makes you not expand it between an adult and, let's say, a goat? Or an adult and a... or I'm not going to go further than that, but you know, because for the norm, these things is a deviation. Now, for these guys, this is normality. So if you put a normality now, their normality as normality, you see how you shift. So here is 12 o'clock, and this is, let's say, 1 o'clock. And yours is like 11, let's say. And they shifted, this is normality to, as we have it, heterosexuality is still the biggest majority on this planet. And then these guys think there is normality. This is normality. They shifted this way. So this becomes deviant. And then if they come over here, this comes as deviant, as this one would be the next step, or could be a next step in animals, or God forbid other human beings and so on. So it's just one step from here, but it's 2 steps from the current normality. It's 2 steps. So 1, 2, 3. But if this becomes normal, then elevates the whole thing just 1 notch, not 2 notches. You know, it's like when you promote something and it's, oh my God, it's far-fetched. It's far-fetched for right now, but there are some people in between you and the far-fetched idea that are in between. Now, they consider their little ideology as normal. So they are right here, so the far-fetched comes all of a sudden closer to not being that far-fetched, just a little bit out of the norm. Be careful, be careful. Physiology still is available and science is still available, and however you want to take it, just because we have a few countries which and we have among us some people who see certain things differently, you know, a tiny minority on the global scale, 7 billion people, find out you're not going to find a big majority of this right here. It doesn't mean that, you know, you have to include in the name of inclusion, because by inclusion you can include a lot of other things that are far-fetched. And let's see what Erdogan says. We will dry the roots of sneaky acts aiming to destroy our family institution by supporting perverse political, social and individual trends, end quote. He told tens of thousands of flag-waving and chanting supporters. Now he says, after the United Nations General Assembly in New York last month, Erdogan complained that was something that I think he was wrong, but nevertheless, which is he saw the colors, they were like a rainbow colors, but it was not the rainbow colors, and say, what's going on here? All these colors, LGBTQ, United Nations, and they say, no, it was not the LGBTQ, it was just, we choose that for the blah, 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 United Nations colors, again, under the cover of the umbrella of inclusion. We like everyone and everything. No, I don't like everyone and everything, that's for sure. Because if you like anyone and everything, or everyone and everything, that means you have no personality, no values whatsoever, no direction in life. That's why you can be sold whatever garbage these guys want to sell it to you in the name of inclusivity. And I say, hey, you have to like everybody. No, I don't like everybody. I have very, very, very few people that I like. Yes, and I have my own values and my beliefs, and I conduct myself accordingly. I don't like that, I don't like that, I don't like that, and I like that, right? Otherwise, you're gonna have no personality. You're not a human being, you're just another piece over there that they can maneuver. You're gonna accept whatever those guys are telling you. Remember, when they try to bash you and try to push you into guilt, by saying you have to have an open mind, that, remember, open-mindedness is not accepting, is opening your mind to understand or try to understand the argument of the other side. That's being open-minded. Okay, this is the issue. You don't say, I'm not going to discuss it. That's a closed-minded. Open-minded, okay, let me look into it. It doesn't mean that if you look into it, you will agree with it. No, they say, no, you have to agree with it. If you don't agree with it, you are closed-minded. So no, that's not what it is. Open mind is you open your mind to various other ideas, you analyze them, reach a conclusion and say, I like it, I support it, or I don't like it, I don't support it. The problem is right now is the pressure. If you're not flexible enough, tolerant enough, only with their garbage, but they're not tolerant with your garbage, again, they are the pinnacle of whatever. If you're not tolerant with that and you disagree with that, you all of a sudden are non-tolerant, you're closed-minded, so you have to accept it. And applaud very much when you see this kind of display of affection in public, and you have to show a lot of, you can show, I disagree with that, I don't like it. Oh my God, you gotta be in the caveman. Hey, you gotta be tolerant. No. Garbage. Anyway, so Erdogan says it the way he sees it. You like it or you take it, you leave it, whatever. That's not for you actually to like it or not, but you can talk about it obviously. And his people voted for him democratically as we like it. Oh, there's no democracy there. Like in Russia, only we have democracy when we elect the right, and when you elect these two as democracy, when you elect the orange man, no democracy. Yes, okay, I got it. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.